Well, it's nice out.
Yeah.
Must be camera central.
Hello, y'all.
We're going to be burning these masks since the mandate in Milwaukee has ended. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Barrett. That's the only good thing you've probably done in a long time. Damn, almost 20 years of my life for sure. So we're down here at McKernan Irish Pub here on the south side of Milwaukee. We got a good crowd showing up, and we're going to burn the hell out of these godforsaken masks. So stay tuned. We're going to have a hell of a time. We got great speakers like Alderman Bob Donovan, Sheriff Clark, Representative Dan Canoe, and many more. So stay tuned and enjoy the fun. Thank you.
Free your mind. Well, it's Free Your Mind show, guys. What do you think about the mask burning event? You all for that?
I was around in the 70s when we burned broads too, so the mass burning goes right along with what I think.
Okay. What about you guys?
Unfortunately, I still have to have mine.
Try that again.
Unfortunately, I still have to have mine.
Oh, you did? Well, yeah, right.
Yeah,
but you bring one to burn today?
I'm game for it.
You game for it?
Get ready to get back to normal.
There you go.
Do I get a second chance?
Sure.
I had to wear a mask when I went grocery store shopping for the past year. Go to Menards, go to Home Depot, you got to buy a mask. Other than that, I didn't wear a mask at all. So
you think
I'm not in favor of the mask thing.
You think it's about time to burn them up?
It's about time to burn them up, yes.
Right.
Let us come back to normal life, drink beer, have fun, socialize with our friends.
It's pretty hard to drink beer with a mask, ain't it?
Yes, it's pretty hard.
Well, that's the thing.
We'll get started in just about a half hour. Sheriff Clark will be our first speaker at 5:45. Then we'll burn some masks. Then we'll hear from some other speakers. And then we'll maybe have a couple drinks. So God bless all of you. We've got a great day. Thank you all for coming. Give yourselves a big round of applause.
How good I looked in a mask, so I have a hard time burning.
Hey, so what do you think about burning that mask? You ready to burn them?
I'm ready to burn them, yeah. In fact, I put the first one in the barrel.
Oh, you put it in the barrel? Just got to light the fire, huh?
Well, you know, for people who have health problems, I think it's perfectly fine. But for people who are healthy, I think it's an overreach. I really do. First time we ever had any kind of epidemic where you isolate healthy people. To me, that's wrong. I understand for people who are at risk, and I respect that.
But not with the mandate.
No, not the mandate. I think it should be an individual right like everything else in this country.
You feel the same way? Good. Everybody over here supporting the mask burning?
Yeah, we're here for the mask burning. Plus, I came here for some beer, too.
Well, I heard you get a free beverage for every mask you bring. Is that right?
I don't know, is it?
Yeah, I did hear something about that.
We wish. I don't think
so.
so.
Yeah. You sure?
If we burn Tony Evers, can we have the whole keg?
We bring you a lot of consolation prizes for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, the drinks will fail, but you know, it's one of those deals.
You may have some side effects.
Well, it might have some side effects.
Right. You don't want that.
Yes.
Here's a guy right here who really feels that a lot of African Americans have chosen to vote for Trump because Why?
Because Trump gave them the challenge. He said, give me a chance, what do you have to lose? And what did he do? He created more jobs for blacks and Hispanics and all minorities, all people across the...
Right. And that's why they had to do a lot of massive cheating in order to steal the election, because I believe Trump probably won about 40 states.
Well, here's the thing about the truth. It always comes out in the end. Unfortunately, it takes a long time, but it always does come out. The truth will always prevail.
He definitely won Wisconsin. You saw all the cheating that they were doing here in Wisconsin. I mean, right here in Milwaukee. I mean, my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Madison as well. Recount,
ballot harvesting in the parks, everything. There are laws against it. We're doing
everything, and for all of these fraudulent recounts. Everybody, you're going to have the same people do the recounting as the people who cheated in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
We knew what the outcome of that was going to be.
And the reason why the truth takes so long, a lot of it is because of living in a free country like we do. Everything gets challenged in courts. Yep. And once you get that court battle going, it takes years to come down to a final solution. And when it does, it really doesn't matter too much, because everything they're trying to achieve through cheating or lying has already been accomplished.
Right.
So it makes it that much harder.
Exactly. After the fact. Wait, like you say, after the fact. They already got all the judges, probably bought all the judges.
Which is a dirty shame, and that's the we have to keep faith in the Lord.
Right, well, absolutely. That's it right there. Say that again.
We have to keep faith in the Lord, because the Lord Jesus is there with us all.
That's the only hope.
Whether you believe in Him or not, He's still there for you.
Exactly right. Whether you believe in Him or not, He's still there.
He is still there.
He doesn't just disappear because you don't believe. So, but that's our only hope, because you see what this guy's been off for 3 months now, and everything is spiraling out of control.
Wow, because they know no different. Right? They don't have anybody guiding them the right way.
Right, that's exactly right. Well, thank you, sir, for being on the Free of Mind show. Remember,
my pleasure.
As long as the mind's a slave, the body can be free. This guy is going places. I don't know where, but he's going places. He's going places.
I'm too old to go anywhere. I got a one-way route.
He's going down. Thank you.
We all set to go, Bobby? Okay.
Yeah, everybody's on it. Really, I know.
Oh, you got it going. Oh, you guys can go.
How are you? She thinks I'm weird. Hello, everyone. Do I have your attention? Welcome. I'm so grateful that each and every single one of you are here. My name is Hilario De Leon. I'm with the Wisconsin Conservative Digest, and I'm one of the organizers of this event. So it's really great to see such an amazing turnout to a day where we're going to be celebrating freedom once again from these godforsaken masks. You guys seem all fired up, but I don't know how fired up you really are. So I want to see you to pull out your mask and shout as loud as you can, so loud to the point where we can wake Sleepy Joe up in Washington, D.C. All right, who's ready? All right. You guys are excited. I'm excited. You know, it was really fun working on this event when I was told that we were going to be having a mask burning event here on the south side. It really hit home because I grew up in this area, and it's just really good to kind of be back at home and with all these amazing patriots here celebrating a great event with some great speakers. So, how's that? That sounds good? Alright. It's not an event unless you have technical difficulties. But, alright, so we got some great speakers. When I was working with Bob Donovan on this great event, he said that this was just the beginning to getting back to normal. And I told him, Bob, it's going to be kind of hard to get back to normal when we have so many abnormal people running the damn show. So, I'm sure he's got some words on that for sure. So without anything further, I'm going to bring up former Alderman Bob Donovan, everyone.
Thank you all so very much. This is just a fabulous, fabulous crowd, and I'm so appreciative. And I want to tell you, I've got a very, very, very important announcement to make. I just got off the phone with Mayor Tom Barrett. He's on his way, but he's been delayed. He's taking the streetcar. I don't know what to do with that guy. Hardly needs any introduction. You all know him. He's a man who calls them like he sees them, doesn't mince any words, and has the courage and the guts to stand up for what he believes in. But there's also something else I want to share with you about Sheriff Clark. Over my years as an alderman, it was not at all uncommon to get calls from constituents very concerned about the level of crime and disorder in their neighborhoods. Now, these are decent people. They're just average Joes. They don't have an activist organization willing to go out and protest or march on their behalf. They don't have the money to hire lobbyists to advance their cause. All they have is the elected representatives, and sadly, I'm here to tell you, many of them have turned their backs on these people over the years, but not Sheriff Clark. I would call him at any time, and he would respond with sheriff's officers, sheriff's deputies, to help out as best he possibly can and take care of those little people, the people who just want to live in a safe, clean, quiet neighborhood with a minimal amount of problems for a reasonable amount of tax dollars. And government ought to be able to deliver that to these poor folks. And yet it's falling down on the job year after year after year. But I just wanted to share that with you. Every time I would call Sheriff Clark, he would help augment MPD's efforts in addressing whatever problems these folks had. And I'm appreciative of that, and I just wanted to say thank you publicly, Sheriff Clark. So with that, let's give a big Southside welcome to Sheriff David Clark.
No, thank you. You know, something that Alderman Donovan touched on was very important to me when I served the people of Milwaukee County. I always reminded myself, and sometimes I had to remind many of you, that I work for you. You're the sovereign. And in a representative democracy, the elected officials are not sovereign. I know that has been flipped around a little bit today, where the elected officials, too many of them anyway, they think they're the sovereign and we should bow down to them. All right, and I always pointed that out. I love you folks. I love all of you.
We love you too.
I also want to give a shout out to the men and women in blue. Several squads showed up here tonight, and we need to remind them, we need to remind each other that in America, blue lives matter. Now, what this has always been about for me is freedom and liberty. And people have to defend freedom and liberty or it'll be taken away. And I think we saw that a little over a year ago when this virus hit the shores of the United States and people seized on, yes, the virus was real. And yes, it could be fatal to people with compromised immune systems or the elderly, certain segments of the population. We did something in this country we have never done before. We have never quarantined healthy people. We have never locked down an entire country over a flu virus. So they took something that was real, the COVID, fatal to some, but keep in mind this thing all the way through a survival rate of 99.9% of the people, for people who got it. Right? They survived it. And look what we did. Look what we allowed government to do. To crash the economy, to quarantine us in our homes, to lock us down with no due process and no probable cause. Stay in your house, we were told. Don't go anywhere, especially over the holidays. Don't travel. That was house arrest. And we allowed them to do that. And think of what we've been through from the days that this started. Remember, it was about flattening the curve. And they said, for about 2 weeks we need to do this, and if we all pull together, we'll get through this and we'll get things going again. And 2 weeks went by, and guess what? It wasn't over. And I don't mean that COVID wasn't over. The seizing upon our freedom and liberty wasn't over. And then we got into things like wearing masks, which, remember, Fauci the fraud, Tony Fauci the fraud, on 60 Minutes, by the way, he doesn't treat patients. He's an over-credentialed bureaucrat is what he is. Yeah, he goes by the title of doctor. He doesn't treat patients. Yet he was giving information out to doctors and elected officials to make policy. He doesn't treat patients. He's the wrong person to get that information from. However, in the early days of this, Fauci the fraud went on TV on 60 Minutes and said, there's no need for any healthy person to be wearing a mask. There's no need for everybody to run out and wear masks. And then a couple months later, we saw Fauci sitting in a baseball park with no mask on and no social distancing, yet he kept giving these elected officials, the policymakers, well, you got to do this. You got to socially distance. You got to wear the mask. Ladies and gentlemen, we know now. We know a lot more than we did in the early days of this. And what I learned, this was never about science. This was never about medicine. This was about politics. Raw, unadulterated politics. Now here's the thing that kind of saddened me as I watched these freedoms and liberties taken away from us. And government has a tendency to do that in a time of crisis. They scare everybody to death, and we're willing to just give our freedoms and liberties away. Why? Well, out of an abundance of caution, we were hearing. Well, it's for the greater good, we were hearing. I'll tell you what, I've never seen those two phrases in the Constitution of the United States. Out of an abundance of caution, these can be suspended. I've never seen it. Now, one of the things that saddened me, as I was saying, is that we so willingly gave into that out of fear, no doubt about it. But we gave up our freedom and liberty because we were scared. And who was it that said, those who would give up a little freedom for a little liberty deserve neither freedom nor liberty? There is no exception in the Constitution because of a novel virus. There just isn't. So we needed a balance. We didn't get a balance. We got steamrolled. And every time they told us to do something, we just Went along with it. We acquiesced. Very little pushback. Some people did push back. We closed down businesses. Some of those businesses are not able to return and will never return. People lost their jobs. Schools closed. Mental health issues started to emerge, especially in our young people. Screenings, medical screenings were put off because hospitals were telling, on the advice of Fauci, an unelected, over-credentialed bureaucrat, well, you can delay the screening. You don't need to do that now. We need to keep the hospital rooms open. The hospital rooms were empty. Yep. So now you see when I say steamroll, you see the domino effect of some of those policies. And that's what I think about today. Because I don't feel free today. I feel free every time I wake up in the morning. Why? Because of the Constitution of the United States and my rights, which are God-given, until God takes them away. There has to be pushback. There has to be pushback. So let that be a reminder in the future. Never, ever, under any circumstances, be willing to give your rights away because somebody scared you into doing it. You know what this thing is? This is the symbol of subjugation. Yep. Surrender to the government is what every time I saw somebody wearing these, that person has surrendered to the government. And that's fine. If you wanted to, and if you want to wear it today, and then remember Fauci's suggesting wear 2 masks? 3, 4? You know, this is a face diaper. That's what it is, and that's what I refer to it as, a face diaper. The studies are out there. I'm not an epidemiologist and I'm not a medical doctor, but I've read a lot of the studies, the counter evidence that said these are useless in the spread of COVID. But if you went along with that, Fauci would say, well, he's just a distraction. That doctor, who treats patients, by the way, he's a distraction. Never, ever. I don't care what's going on. We did it after 9/11. We gave up freedoms that are still not given back to us today. You go to an airport, I'm not changing the subject, but here's what happens. In a period of crisis after 9/11, we were all afraid, right? That's a natural human tendency. And the government steps in and says they're right, we can take their rights away. What came out of the 9/11 investigation? We found out the government fell asleep at the switch. Who had to pay the price? You and I. We go to an airport now, and the TSA checkpoints are like a booking room in a jail. Take everything out of your bag, take your shoes off, take your belt off. They go through your possessions without a warrant. That may have been okay in the month or so following 9/11. It's not okay today, but what do? We just do it. Why? We want to get on the airplane, and I get it. But that's why I'm reminding you today, never, especially in a period of crisis, get your wits about you. Do not give up your freedoms out of an abundance of caution. Do not give up your freedoms for the greater good. Don't give up your freedom and liberty for anything, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. Thanks for coming out today. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thanks.
All right. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Celebrate on the south side of Milwaukee, let me tell you, yes. And I might add, you're standing in the fighting 8th District, too. So, yes. All right, we're going to have our mask burning. Where's Eric? Eric, come on up, start the fire, brother. There he is. Don't mess with Eric. Yeah. All right. And, then I'd like the sheriff to be the first one to burn his mask. Then we've got our folks here. And also, before I forget, folks, I want to thank our venue hosts here tonight, Gene and Victoria McKernan. So, let's have a big round of applause for them. They have a great establishment here. Some people used to refer to it as my district office, but I would stop in on occasion. That's all I'll say. Okay, and we want
2 seconds. Mask up.
Okay, well, the sheriff will start it, and then Victoria and Carrie. They're working the bar, and they wanted to be right up there, so hold on, folks. We'll get this done. Does anyone tap dance?
Mayor.
No, not me. Not me. Are they coming? All right. All right, let's have a round of applause for Victoria McKernan. She's the owner of this place. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Victoria. Carrie's coming.
Terry! Woo!
Okay. All right, great. And Sheriff, please, by all means.
Never again.
Now, folks, line up. We've got tickets. If you burn your mask, you get a freedom beer on Bob. Okay? Get your ticket over here. Yeah, form the line, folks. Yeah, well. Hang them out. Yep.
I would have checked on you after a few minutes.
Sharon.
I couldn't, hey.
No, you ain't. No, you ain't.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Here's the Miss Troublemaker right here. You might remember her though. Did you get my invitation?
To this? Yeah. You know what? I don't know, but you know I was talking to Veronica.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I know I see it on Facebook. I don't know. I like what's going on. Oh, what you mean?
I gotta grab mine off.
Guys, be careful. Be careful. Have a bright safety song. Guys, line up. Thank you.
Don't worry, you don't get the social
Good.
It's all right. It's all right.
And you ain't had me in Sharon's corner.
I was gonna do it here before. That's why I invited you. I was gonna do Sharon's Corner before we started. I sent you what you call it? A message. What you call it? A message?
That's personal.
Yeah, I want to do. No, you here now.
You know how it is.
Show something to the camera. You see yourself to the camera? Hey, little Sharon.
Look, I didn't even realize you was all set up ready to go.
I work right down the street.
I had a new color, new hair color.
Get the video from him and send it to us. Okay.
Hey, how are you? Come on in here for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Yeah. This guy, I told him, he's learning. He's doing great.
Get ready to hear
come on.
Can we all say hashtag Fauci's going to jail? Hashtag gain of function. Gain of function. Okay? Crimes against humanity. Okay? Fucking war crimes. Let's say all that shit. You know my mouth.
Y'all already know, Sharon. It's gonna be beep, bleep. It's coming up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean no harm. But cuss words are just ways of emphasizing what we feel. So it's just an emotional tantrum. Pay no attention to it.
We will. We pay a whole lot of attention to it. Hey, I want to get you on your mask. Your mask not burning up here.
Oh, with mask burning? You know I got baby girl here to burn it.
Okay. If you stand, make it
Shouldn't we even hear? We should kind of be able to hear till the turnover allows people singing "Burn, Baby, Burn," right? I told Aisha we got like a half a minute over here about this.
Real?
Yeah, let's get it burned.
Pull back a little bit. That's a hot fire there.
I'm like, melt everything you got.
Man.
I know, man. What happened to the office? That's why they going with
and of course, Sheriff Clark was still working on the job, and it's really great to see them still out here fighting for our freedoms, because these Democrats, these radical leftists, they want to take away your freedom. They want to take away your right to free speech, your right to carry arms, and just many other things. We cannot let them do that. So I'm sure we're going to have the other speakers talking about that. I'm going to bring up Representative Dan Knoedel from the State Assembly. He's going to be coming up speaking probably about things that are going on in the State Assembly, what they're doing to keep Governor Tony Evers. What's with these Democrats and these names, Tony?
They use that as a
it's ridiculous.
against humanity.
What they're doing to keep them at bay and their future plans within the State Assembly.
That they know they weren't supposed to.
Without further ado, here's Representative Dan
Knoedel. Into other, little backdrops. Remember, he was a part of the Senate.
All right, thank you. I got to do something first. I have a mask. I've never worn it. Here it goes. There we go. Freshly pressed. So thank you, Lario, for putting on this event, and Bob Donovan and Sheriff Clark. I'm a State Assembly representative. I live in Germantown, the 24th Assembly District, so it was well worth it to make the effort to come and join you today. I do see a couple of Washington County people here, so thank you to them for making the trip as well. So
has actually happened.
All right, I appreciate it. For everybody coming out, I hope you stay mad. I hope you stay mad. Not just today. This is just the beginning, because elections do matter, and it's going to come down to the next election. So you've got to get out in force and make your voices heard, and you've got to get everybody else that's of the right mind to get out and vote. So we have a lawless governor in the capital of Madison. And the Supreme Court has ruled that he is in fact lawless. He's issued orders that he did not have the authority to issue. And it took time to go through the judicial process, but it happened, and his orders were knocked down, and he's not capable of making those orders anymore. So in the meantime, we'll keep him from doing bad things, because most everything involves the legislature and has to go through the legislature. He'd like to ignore the legislature, but it's pretty difficult for him to do other than executive orders, which now have been termed lawless. So that's been taken off his playbook. So we're going to continue that fight. You're going to see election reform bills are all moving forward. Tomorrow we're going to hear vaccine bills that you will not be discriminated against if you do not have the vaccine. So we will be moving bills to the governor's desk. Can't make any promises that he would sign these type of bills, but that's the effort that we're going to make. So it's your private decision, your right to make the choice. You want to be vaccinated or not, and you have no obligation to disclose that, and you shouldn't. So there's also something. How about natural immunity? Did anybody remember that? Probably people here that have had COVID. And you got over it, right? Well, you're kind of vaccinated now. You've got natural immunity. It does work yet in 2021. So I know many people who have had the virus, and they got through it, and they've got antibodies, and they've got that natural immunity. So that how wonderful that we can make that choice. And though for those who still feel vulnerable, and who don't want to be out in public, they still have the choice. Mask up, make that decision. Amen. So I'm from the private business world. I own one of these places. I own a tavern out in Hartford, Wisconsin, and you haven't seen any mask out there in the last year, but we were closed for 60 days. The government shut us down and took our livelihood completely away from us. Gone. So after that 60 days, we got ramped back up, and the business still not has recovered, and I don't know that it will recover in this particular business to the levels that it was prior to that shutdown. On St. Patrick's Day, with a 2-hour notice, when we all had the corned beef cooking in the cookers, and we ended up throwing it all away because we had to close our businesses up per the governor's orders. So that cannot happen again. And Sheriff Clark says a lot of things that are correct, and it's up to us to be vocal about those things. And call up your representative, get a hold of them. You got to yell at them, you got to make noise, and you got to be demanding of them. And if that doesn't work, you got to replace them. So keep that in mind, and we look forward to the next elections to do some replacing on the local level with mayors and county board supervisors, and on the state level with state representatives and state senators and governors. Thank you much for the employment situation.
But I'm going to bring up Harris Prokopis to be our next speaker. He's from the Wisconsin Conservative Digest. He's very energetic, and I do have a few other speakers after him, so without further ado, Harris, please come up here and take the mic from me.
Oh, you can do better than that! Isn't it exciting being out in the open around other people maskless? Now there is one silver lining with the wearing of the mask. Nancy Pelosi had to wear one too. So sometimes there's an improvement. But everything, I don't want to sit here and parrot what everybody else was saying, but I just sang the stars. Oh my God, all this smoke, I'm going to need a mask. But thank my lucky stars that we have people out there willing to fight. But unfortunately, we have people in power who want to take control. Why did they do this? This had nothing to do with masks. This had to do with the fact that Orange Man bad. This is exactly what they did. There's an old cliche, it's from 1984. It said, to control what people think, you begin with controlling what they say. What was the first thing they tried to control what they say? Hydroxychloroquine. President Trump said it worked. Suddenly, hydroxychloroquine is bad, even though it had been on the market for, what, 40, 50 years? He could have said that oxygen was the cure for COVID-19, and the left would immediately hold their breath just to prove him wrong. That's what it is, and it is control. It took away our rights, like David Clark said. You couldn't go to church and practice your faith when people needed their faith. You have depression up, suicide up. Young children couldn't go to school because of the fact that the teachers decided, well, masks are safe, but we can't go to school wearing masks because it's not safe, so we can't go to work. And of course, masks are safe, but it's not safe enough to go and vote with a mask. Are you starting to see a pattern here? And suddenly they started poll testing everything, and guess what? They found out that people wanted to take the masks off. So on Monday, masks were needed. On Tuesday, you can all take your masks off, but under a controlled release. A year and some change later. Are you guys doing okay? Are you bringing oxygen? I was at an event in Greenfield the other night. Bella Kane, a local cover band, was out there playing, and there were literally at least 1,000 people there in the tent and all around interacting. There wasn't a mask in sight. Well, maybe there were a couple. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to wear a mask, wear it. Nobody's stopping you. It's not the end of the world. But for kids, it's important that we have people on masks. That's how we interact. That's how we communicate. They're trying to take that all away from us. So, how many of you are on Facebook, social media? Okay. And Twitter and stuff like that. How many of you left social media recently? Okay. Well, those of you who left, I need you to get back on there. They can't shadow ban everybody. And the fact of the matter, we need to sense. All it is we want the government out of our lives. There's a certain reason for government, there's a place for it, but we don't need them to control. And this is a microcosm of what they want to do in the future. They're taking, the mask was that device they can use to control. And I'm not, this isn't hyperbole, this is just general. How many times, okay, if you wear a mask, you can go out. And then until we get the vaccine, we have a vaccine, oh no, now vaccinated people, or I'm sorry, unvaccinated people need to keep wearing their mask to protect the vaccinated people.
Okay, that's discrimination.
How does that make sense? But in the end, you want to get one, get one. If you don't want to get one, don't get one. Stop virtue signaling. Anyway, guys, Wisconsin Conservative Digest, WCDigest.com. Find me at the Paris Procopa Show. It's a great show. Anyway, thank you, and keep fighting, and get in the fight.
They're trying to make her seem like she's crazy, but I want to stand up for her as Martha Green got her head on right, and she's right.
All right, thank you, Paris. That was very passionate. But I'm going to bring up our next speaker.
801
South Highway 100. Just go to MKE, abbreviated, GOP.com, go to the event section. Maybe it's just Highway 100. You go to the 800 block of Highway 100. It's just south of the freeway. West of Colders, in West Dallas. We'll get you there as soon as we're done. I will show you a map. Because if you want to show up and not comply, you're the person I'm looking for. So what are we going to do? We are not going to comply. That means if somebody gets arrested, we bail them out. Guys, I'm not bullshitting anymore. The days of being polite, the days of not being a political action have to end or your freedom is gone. That's why I'm glad I didn't have a mask to burn for you. That's why I'm saying